Irons around Michiana. This is 16 Sports Extra.
Welcome to the 16 Sports Extra podcast. I'm Jackson Neill. That's Sabrina Hoover. Sabrina, it is November 10th, the day we are recording this. Sectionals are done.
I know.
Sectionals are done. I can't believe it.
It's insane. And I went out to the Penn Crown Point game on Friday night, and I was just sitting there like, this is insane that we're already to this point right now, and then I'm watching Penn, face a team like Crown Point, which I know we're gonna start with 6A. Penn, absolutely, this game was crazy. Okay, so I got there in the beginning of this game. It was kind of back and forth. Penn's defense was crazy in the first half because I wrote this down. So Penn's defense only allowed one first down the rest of the first half only allowed one first down against Crown Point. It was crazy. It was, yeah. So that was big for their defense. But just overall, they fought through a lot of adversity throughout that game because I know it came down to the wire. They've had some mistakes here and there. But I think this really showed and solidified that Penn is the real deal. And to get a win like this against a team like Crown Point, to have, all the things that kind of went wrong in that game, back and forth and, having things happen to overcome that adversity showed that, okay, this is the team, this is different this year.
Yeah, it really felt like that. That was a game where, thinking about it, going into it, I was like, okay, obviously I knew Penn could compete with this, with a team like Crown Point, but you just think about 6A football recently in the state of Indiana, and it is so much just, I don't know, it is it is the toughest class for a reason, and it is really, really hard to put together complete games against these teams, especially, which as we discussed, Penn doesn't play a lot of 6A teams throughout the season. It's kind of like Elkhart, and that's it. Yeah. And a lot of these teams like Crown Point play multiple 6A games throughout the season. So when it gets to postseason time, it's still tough, but it's not like anything new. Whereas there's that newness for the Kingsmen. And to see them get this win, to see this final score, to fight it out like that on their home field. I mean, we've talked about just how special this Penn team is. I forget how many wins. Was it the first 5-0 start since 2016?
Yeah.
Something along those lines. I mean, maybe it was even 3-0. It was
I think it was 3-0.
3-0, which was I remember that stat just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Because we think of Penn as, rightfully so, as one of the programs in Northern Indiana for high school football. And yet this season, just look at the numbers, because they play such a tough schedule, because they're such a tough class, a lot of times it is kind of hard to get to this point in the season for them. But right now, this win over Crown Point, a good Crown Point team, because at this point, there's no bad teams. It's so, so impressive. And now they're going up against a Carroll team who's won 7 straight. And we're talking about Penn being one win away from getting to semi-states in Class 6A, which has teams that are some of the best, if you don't even want to talk about in the country.
Yeah, and you think about, the fan base, obviously, of Penn, there's so many people that, are so attracted to, what Penn's football program has been and what it's going to be. But this year, it just feels I feel like there's just a different, side of motivation, a different side of motivation for Pete Reardon and his group, because this fan base is so locked in. Every single week, it's it's just crazy how many, supporters they have. But it's so cool to see a team like this achieve so much in the regular season, have Pete Reardon, who's been on the staff for a while, but this was his second year now being the head coach, to have him build, what he's already known about Penn, but also to kind of put his own little flair to it.
Yep.
And to have offensive playmakers like Landon Hall, and Brayson Hurley, guys like that, puts everything together, puts it into perspective. And then this defense that's been outstanding all year long. It's surprising to me to know that they've had so much success now in the regular season. And just like you mentioned, they haven't really played a lot of 6A teams in the regular season. And now to get that kind of big win over Crown Point puts more confidence into them to be okay, we can hang with the best.
Yeah, really is. And you end up with the best. One of the teams remaining in a regional championship in Class 6A is Brownsburg. They are ranked right now by Max Preps as the 27th best team in the country.
Wow.
This is the type of, not every team is like that, obviously, in 6A, but, when you get to this point of the schedule in 6A, this is the type of football we're talking about.
Yeah.
Just so impressive. from that standpoint. So huge win there for Penn. As we mentioned, they're now playing Carroll. They're hosting Carroll, right, this Friday night, so that'll be a fun one.
Yep. That'll be awesome.
Always nice when it gets to go through your own home crowd. And I know that one's going to be absolutely insane to go to. So that's going to be...
I was going to say, I know why I brought up the fans, because parking. So when you go to these games, get there early.
Yes.
Because it was outrageous how many people were at that Penn Crown Point game, which again, you would expect, but it was a different type of energy. I was like, okay, like we know it's time when you see a crowd like this.
Exactly. So now let's go down to 5A, where we had Concord. They picked up a win against Fort Wayne Northside.
They did.
Concord, the Minutemen. I mean, is this like it's kind of like last year we talked about? Okay, they're the undefeated team. They weren't able to make that run. Now they're putting together that run. Now they're in the regional championships against Lafayette Jefferson, a team that's won 10 straight games. That's just kind of one of those programs there in 5A that's like consistently in the mix. But Concord, I mean, they've talked about going to Indianapolis. They're putting it together right now.
And talk about doing all this with no field, right?
So,
to have the ups and downs of just not even the ups and downs, just like knowing like, okay, we're playing at Elkhart, we're playing at Mishawaka.
Yeah,
all
like
regular season, you know?
It's so weird.
And but again, like just like you said, I mean, this was a huge win for Concord, you know, on the road at Fort Wayne, and then Reese Brevard. I mean, like, what else can he do? I mean, he does so much for this offense. That little trick play right there, and then throws it back to Bro
how many laterals were right there?
I ran those highlights, and I was like, are you as confused as I am? Like,
I'm very confused.
This defense was confused as well. But anyway, no, it's just such a big, win for that program to have the success. Again, I know I keep bringing up, to have the success in the regular season that they have had, but like, they lose to Mishawaka, and then, kind of rattle off all the wins after that. And really, like, you've seen this team get better, each week. And then talking to, like, obviously Craig Kaler before that big Warsaw game, he said, like, we've gotten better since we even, played Warsaw back in, earlier weeks. So it's like this team's clicking at the right time. This offense is clicking at the right time. And it's going to, again, another really fun team to really watch.
And I just keep bringing it up. I mean, talking to them in the preseason, it's like, they went for a team that went undefeated and won a conference title last year.
Yeah.
Coming into this season, they were not happy. Like that's the nicest way I could put it. They were not happy because they knew that they did not achieve everything they think they could have achieved last season, and they made it a mission for this year. It's playoffs.
Yeah.
It's like when it gets to be November, when it gets to be cold out, we want to be winning these football games. And one thing we talk about, in the postseason a lot, we'll get to what our next game definitely, is these close games. It's so important because, a lot of times in high school football, there are teams that are overmatched or whatever. It's like, but when it comes down to this time of year, you need to be able to win in these close games. They beat Fort Wayne Northside by 5 points. We up at the Penn win. They won by 4 points. These close one-possession games. Yeah. And Concord, as a team who had the success in the regular season last year and this season and didn't follow up in the postseason last year, they know how slim those margins are. And they have like Bo Brunner, like a quarterback who was there last year doing the same thing. Like now it's like, okay, he knows, man, it could be one play. It could be one play, and that's the difference. That's all it takes. It's just one bad decision, and there's your season. So I think that's really, really helping this squad.
And then I think too, like I brought him up before, but like Reese Brevard being like the Jeremiah Love of.
Oh yeah.
I
can't eat. Like he every time it's like, crazy.
When it comes to like when you're down by like 4 or 5, and then you see that Concord offense back on the field, you have one big play of Reese Brevard, and all of a sudden you're in the red zone. So it's like he is such a big playmaker when it comes to these close games, because it's like. When you need him, he's there. And it's like he puts on a show every single week. And again, they had, Jerron Thomas last year, and now they got Reese Brevard. So like they've been known to have good running backs, but like Reese is just like such an aggressive like runner, and he knows how to find those holes, and he knows how to put the Jets on. So like when it comes to, and now in the playoffs, now in the postseason, when you need, a playmaker like that, that's going to, put you in front, it's him. So it's huge.
And then quickly, just also in 5A, Michigan City, they beat LaPorte the second time, beating LaPorte this season, 28-21. They're now playing Merrillville in their regional championship. Kind of a team we don't always usually talk about around here, but still kind of in the Michiana region.
Yeah.
So real shout out to them. But Sabrina, it's time. We got to talk about Class 4A. We got to talk about
let's do it.
The game that we were just all so excited for. And I mean, it kind of went how we expected. 13-7. That's
scoring,
real football right there. South Bend St. Joe beats Mishawaka to win the sectional title. His first sectional title since, was it 2015, I want to say?
I think it was.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Like
but just incredible. I mean, this is a Mishawaka.
2015.
Mishawaka team that's just, I mean, we talk about it all season long. This is a team that had legitimate Indianapolis state championship level expectations. They have the talent. They ran through the regular season like that. And then St. Joe, they had their undefeated regular season until they met Penn, and now we see just how good of a team Penn is. Mm-hmm. I mean, this was a meeting of two heavyweights, and it just delivered.
And it's so, like, to see again what St. Joe has been building, you know, what Ben Downey has been doing for this program is huge. And I'm just so happy for a program like that that's had, I mean, Mishawaka, they ended the caveman streak of 3 straight. Like, that stat itself is huge. You know, you're going up against Mishawaka, who is in previous years is dangerous in the playoffs, and they still were. Like, they were dangerous in that game. They're still a great football team. To get a win, to get a gutsy win like that, because I know they were leading. Jackson, this game was 3-0 at halftime. So
yeah, I saw that.
It was low scoring for sure, and I think just it was crazy. So then once Mishawaka went in front 7-3, you're thinking, okay, this is time for Mishawaka to kind of use Landon Snyder and Caden O'Neill. But that St. Joe defense, I mean, you talk about the playmakers they have on that defensive side of the ball. We've talked about it all season long. But, like, again, to hold Mishawaka to 7 points is huge, because it's like, again, they run the triple option. They have those key playmakers. It's hard to stop them. And then St. Joe, getting the offensive points they did as well, getting 13 points. It's insane to see that was the final one. And then 2, that what Ben Downey is doing for this program so far throughout the year, now in the postseason. You got to feel good if you're a Huskies fan.
Really, really do. November 7th was the date of the game. There's also the time that finally St. Joseph gave up their 100th point of the season. They've now given up a whopping 103 points.
Wow.
This season. Yeah, I mean, for anyone that doesn't realize, that is like nothing. Like, there are teams that have given up like 3 times that, or 2 times that are still very much alive in the playoffs.
Yeah.
This is not like, that is insanely low number of points. I mean, you look at their run so far, shutting out South Bend Riley in the first round, winning 14-7 against North Virginia game. Man, that was a tough ball game. I was at that one.
Yeah.
Then now beating Mishawaka 13-7. This is a team that's going to grind it out.
Yes.
This is a team that is going to make it super, super physical. And I know nowadays, like in high school football, we're starting to see, obviously, you see some of these offenses spread it out, some dynamic playmakers. And yes, they can make some big plays, but this is really a throwback football team.
Yes.
Like, they always, was it 1995 everyone refers to? That was an undefeated season for them. And, I almost like to think that this is like a team from 1995. Like, this is just like a team from 30 years ago.
This is what Ben Downey's preaching. But it's just, when you talk about the adversity that some of, the games that they've gone through, maybe some slow starts or maybe some, mistakes here and there. Because I think they had a few turnovers in that game against Mishawaka. And it's like, every single time, Mishawaka got the ball back or they fumbled or whatever, they make you pay. And it's like, what maybe mistakes on the offensive side of the ball, the defense helps clean up on the defensive side of the ball. So it's certain plays like that where it's like, when you have the key playmakers and you got the right mindset and you're in the postseason, you're going up against a team like Mishawaka, it's just hard it's hard to go up against a team like that. So big win for them. And I know that community is just over the moon because, again, what Ben Downey is doing in St. Joe is huge.
It's pretty incredible. And then now they're going up against a Hobart team. Hobart, obviously at this point in the season, everyone's really good. They're riding 6 straight wins. They beat Lowell in their the game before this to reach this point. One thing I wanted to kind of point out, though, I was looking through Hobart's schedule. Obviously, I've not seen a lot of Hobart football. But, I mean, talking about St. Joe, it's that no matter what, even if a team's better than St. Joe, it's still going to be a low-scoring game. Like, you cannot put up a lot of points, it feels like, against St. Joe. It is very, very hard to put up a lot of points against them. The 2 losses for Hobart this season was a 17-7 score and a 20-17 score. Like, these are scores that I could see this game being. Like, this is like a lot of their wins are, 20 plus, 40 plus, 50 plus points. But when it gets to be like the 17-7, the 20-17, that's where Hobart struggled this season. And when you think about St. Joe just kind of going forward in this playoffs, I mean, defense week after week is something you can rely on. And I think sometimes when the lights get really bright in any level of football, sometimes offensively, players can get tight. Decisions cannot be as fast, it's not as quick. Defense usually always kinds of shows up. It usually does a pretty good job of week to week staying consistent. And that's been just the huge key for this Huskies team.
And I do want to mention before we move on from this game is that our photog, went out to this game and he kind of stressed about Mishawaka kind of beating themselves a little bit because it was penalties after penalties. It would be a 1st and 15, and then it was a whole bunch of just mistakes on the penalty side. So again, it was a hard fought win by St. Joe, but Mishawaka's got to be beating themselves up for some of those just silly mistakes here and there. But still a great season for Mishawaka, though. Exactly.
So now let's go to Class 3A, where Miles McLaughlin beat Marion. Oh, wait, no, Knox beat Marion. It might as well be Miles McLaughlin.
That's great.
I mean, it is, like, insane. Like, so right now I'm just kind of like trying to find which records. He has obviously created the Indiana record.
Right.
This game, he ran it 43 times for 383 yards and 6 touchdowns. That's pretty good.
Pretty good. pretty solid.
So, so far this season, he's rushed for 4,396 yards, 67 touchdowns, and also thrown for 3 more. Sabrina, I don't know what else do you even say about this.
So actually funny. So fun fact, if anybody watched my show on Friday, so it was all McLaughlin highlights, but I literally had to make up like each touchdown. I had to be like, okay, what else do I say in this? Because the third one I went with, okay, his name, Derrick Henry knows his name.
Yep.
And here he is scoring whatever it was. But it's like it's almost like you become speechless with the amount of numbers he's put up this season. Like, this is insane what he's doing for this program, for the state of Indiana. I mean, again, we don't know his future, like obviously where, if he can go somewhere big, obviously we don't know that, but it's like what he has done here already is something so special that I don't even think people realize how special it really is.
I mean, so right now, like you mentioned Derrick Henry. So we're going to put a couple of just stats right here. The national single season rushing record was created in 2014. I hope I'm pronouncing these names wrong. Dominic Braglione of South Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
He had 4,704 yards. So right now, McLaughlin is at 4,396. So what, about like a little over 300 yards he needs?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, we know he can do that. The touchdown record is Casimir Allen of Tulare Union in California.
Okay.
He had 72 in 2017. McLaughlin has 67 right now. That's within reach. But obviously, the record that everyone is thinking about, held by Derrick Henry, the career rushing record nationally, 12,124 yards.
Yeah.
He is 737 yards away.
Holy.
And like, I know that sounds like a lot,
right?
But like, just throw out what he just rushed for 383 yards in a sectional championship game. Like, so like when you say 700 some yards, that's 2 games for him.
And you know what's crazier about this as well? Like I just mentioned, like what he's done for the state of Indiana. I was looking on scores, like on Twitter or whatever, and this, one of the, I think it was like the radio guy that was calling the Knox game. Someone commented from a different state, Jackson. Like he's like in, I don't know where he lives. He was like, we have people like here over in like wherever wanting to listen in on his stats. Like they literally were listening on a Knox Marion game because of Miles, and they live in wherever it was. It wasn't even in Indiana. I'm like, the amount of traction this is getting and for good reason, but the amount, like that's crazy for a high school football game for a Knox football player. Like how many, you can't say that. Like how many times can you say that? Like it's crazy.
No, it doesn't even make any sense right now. I mean, we mentioned Derrick Henry talked about him on the Kay Adams show. So he was breaking down his film, said he liked it. That's just incredible.
Yeah.
Maria Taylor, mentioned it on NBC last night for Sunday Night Football.
Yep.
I mean, you look online, it's just all over the place. I think the best thing about it, my favorite part about it, is for Derrick Henry, people it's been a consistent thing online to share his high school stats and be like, look, these are real. And they don't look real. They don't. And in my mind, that was just kind of one of those records of no one's going to come close to that. That, I mean, it's Derrick Henry. Come on. This is a guy that's a Heisman winner, all-time running back. And now it's there's somebody else that is putting up those numbers that when you look at it, I play video games. I'm a big College Football 26 fan. You know that, Sabrina. I've never been, I can't put up these numbers in the game. I physically cannot put up these numbers in the video game, and this kid is doing it in real life.
Yes.
It is absurd. I mean, the only analysis I can really can give and pretty much should give is that when you have a player like that, you're in it for every game. Yeah. There's not really a game. They're playing Angola this week in the regional championship. I know Angola is a good football team, but you can't count on anybody at this point, no matter how good of a football team they are, to have an answer for Miles because he's that good, he's that prolific. So when you have a player like that who, oh man, let's say he struggles this week and rushes for 200 yards and 3 scores. Yeah. Let's say he has a down game and does that.
Down game.
He plays terribly.
Yeah.
He plays awful.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a player rushing for 200 yards and 3 scores in the regional championship, you're usually winning that football game.
Yeah. Yeah. It's insane. And from what I've seen too, is he's just a humble kid that loves football, obviously. And so it's really cool. It's really cool to see that. Obviously, I know we talked about that going into the Marion game was obviously that's the number one focus is, contain Miles.
Yes.
And for Marion, again, such a great season. They played, great throughout the regular season, knowing what they had kind of against them, losing 21 seniors or something crazy like that. So great season for them. But again, Knox is special. It's a special team. He's a special player. I'm excited to see how far they can go because, again, what would make this even better, a better storyline, is having to see Knox make that run all the way to the state title. So,
I mean, so just by being over 10,000 yards, only 13 players have ever done that in high school football history.
Wow.
I just can't believe it. All right, so let's wrap. Enough of that, Miles McLaughlin. We're going to have plenty more to talk about, hopefully, if Knox continues their run.
Yep.
Now let's wrap it up with Class 1A. LaVille, they beat West Central. Yes. Big win. Now they're playing Pioneer, a team that, you're talking about rushing records and stuff, Jack Kaiser back in the day. But LaVille, I mean, I am very, very impressed with this LaVille team. We kind of talked about them throughout the season. In the INS, it was kind of like them, Bremen. It was kind of this weird mix, I would say, of some close games, some close losses, some close wins, beating Jimtown in overtime. And then now in the postseason, being able to stack a couple wins, the huge win in the first round, the close one over North Judson, a team that went on a run last year.
Exactly.
Now beating West Central and now playing at Pioneer, one of the kind of teams in Class 1A here in Indiana. It's been an incredible run so far for LaVille.
Yeah, and to know that they put up, again, 49 points against West Central, to have a big victory like that now in the postseason. And then obviously, you mentioned it right there, but a lot of close wins, a lot of big wins throughout the regular season. But again, it's special to see, especially a 1A school, going on a run like this, but also seeing their progression throughout the regular season, and especially that I know the overtime win over Jimtown, that was huge, and then the 70-70 win, against Whiting. So again, it's really special to see them kind of continue this. But against Pioneer, that's going to be a good challenge. 11-1 team in Pioneer, so it'll be a good one.
And then just wrapping up real quick, in Michigan, we had a couple local teams, but just want to shout out, Zeeland West. They took down St. Joseph. Shout out St. Joseph though for we kind of talked about that last week. Zeeland West beat Niles, then St. Joseph was able to get further in the postseason than Niles did, even though they had very different seasons. I mean, still just a solid year for St. Joseph in this season where they've had some up and down moments. Still were able to get there. I mean, Zeeland West is again, one of those really good solid programs in Division III. And down in Division V, Berrien Springs saw their season come to an end against Kalamazoo United. Berrien Springs, again, another season where I think at times I wasn't really sure what to make of the Shamrocks, but they put together, able to get a little far in the postseason, and that's always fun to see. But now we're kind of out of teams up there in Michigan, so we're just focusing on Indiana. But the fun thing about that is we have way more teams than we expected to have usually at this time. We have set a couple more extra games, which means we're going to have a full 16 Sports Extra show. At least right now we're tentatively planning on that for this Friday night. So make sure to tune into that here on WNDU Channel 16 in South Bend area. Can't wait for it. I mean, we're talking about we might need to be spending all day on that Saturday after Thanksgiving at Lucas Oil. That might be a whole day trip.
I know, that might be a vacation for us.
Might have to go up there. What is it? Friday and Saturday. It might have to be a two-day.
Yeah, two-day trip. But I mean, again, it's so special to have teams still playing, right? To again be able to follow them throughout the whole regular season, through all the ups and downs, and then be like, oh crap, you guys are the real deal, and you guys could go on a run. So it's gonna be interesting to see, how they, play on Friday. But again, just really, really fun to see that.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to the 16 Sports Extra podcast. That'll do it.